Well, greetings everyone and welcome. It's Father Richard here again with yet another online school assembly, and I hope you're all keeping well and keeping safe wherever you are today and whatever you're up to. Bore da, prynhawn da or noswaith da, whatever time you're watching this. Now today, the day I'm recording this assembly, it is Tuesday the 23rd of November. And you all know, I'm sure, what that means. Yes, you've got it. It is only a month and 2 days until Christmas Day, because in 2 days' time it will be the 25th of November, and then only a month later, the 25th of December, it will be Christmas Day. So Christmas is not very far away, and I wonder if you are all ready and prepared for Christmas. Have you started buying Christmas presents, maybe? Have you started thinking what you'd like to have as Christmas presents? Have you started thinking about what's Christmas going to be like this year? How are we going to celebrate it? What are we going to do over the Christmas period? Well, I want to start off today by telling you a little something about a day in the church when we start to turn our minds towards Christmas. And that is a day called Stir Up Sunday. Stir Up Sunday always falls 5 Sundays before Christmas Day. So if you look on your calendar and you find Christmas Day, and then you count 5 Sundays before, it will take you back to this year, what was the Sunday just gone, the 21st of November. And that's called Stir Up Sunday. And the reason it's called Stir Up Sunday is because in traditional times, and many people still do it today actually, it was the day when people made their Christmas pudding ready to eat on Christmas Day. I wonder if you've ever had Christmas pudding. That rather nice dome-shaped pudding, brown in colour with lots of fruit in, very rich, very tasty. And if you make your own, it's supposed to be the best day to do it is 5 Sundays before Christmas Day. Because if you do that and you cook it and you leave it, then all the flavours become much, much nicer. They sort of go all through the pudding and it has time to settle and all the flavours have time to really work their way through, so it tastes a lot nicer. Or, of course, you could just buy one from the shop, but I'm sure it's much nicer if you make your own. I'm going to tell you today how you make a Christmas pudding on Stir Up Sunday. We're 2 days late from Stir Up Sunday, but never mind. First thing you need is your mixing bowl, like so. Then you need some flour. We have some flour. You put that in your mixing bowl. Then you need some butter, like that. That goes in as well. Then you need some eggs. We've got some good Welsh eggs here. We put those in our mixing bowl. And of course you need your mixed fruit, dried fruit. So we put that in as well. And then we get our spoon here. And because it's Stir Up Sunday, we give it a good old stir round and mix it all in like this. And then it's ready. And then we simply put it in the oven and wait till Christmas Day. Not sure I quite got that right there, but never mind, you get the idea. Anyway, Stir Up Sunday is not the only name for this 5th Sunday before Christmas Day. It does have another name as well, which I want to tell you about now. And that name for this day is called Christ the King Sunday. Christ the King Sunday. Now, why do we have this day? It's a day when we think about Jesus. Christ is just another name for Jesus. Jesus being our king. For those of us that believe in him, he is our king. Why do we call him a king? We call him a king because Jesus is the most important person who ever lived, because he is the Son of God. And if you think about it, a king, or a queen for that matter, is probably the most important person on earth, human person we can think of. So we compare Jesus to a king really to show how important Jesus is. But in many ways, Jesus is quite different to all other kings that we might think of. Now, if I was to ask you to imagine a king or a queen, or to draw a picture of one, I wonder how you would draw them or how you would imagine them. Maybe you would, he says, reaching for the iPad, imagine a king or a queen wearing a crown. Here's a picture of our queen. I bring it a bit closer so you can see. Picture of our queen wearing her crown. That's a bit clearer. Wearing her crown there with all its jewels and diamonds and all glittery and all very, very valuable and looking very expensive and wonderful. A king or queen wears a crown, we tend to think. Or we might think of a king wearing fine robes. Here's a picture of our queen's father, who was king, wearing robes with purple and velvet and fur. Again, all very special and important. Or we might think of a king or a queen living in a palace, a huge, great big palace, or maybe a castle. Now, why do we think of kings and queens in those ways? Wearing a crown, wearing fine robes, living in a big palace or castle. I guess it's because we tend to think of kings and queens as being very, very important. And because they're important, we think they should have lots of fancy things. A fancy crown with jewels in it, fancy robes, live in a fancy house. It stands to reason. If they're important, they should have all these important and wonderful things. We might also think of a king or a queen as someone who maybe is quite bossy, who tells people what to do. After all, they're in charge. And we might think, well, yes, they give the orders and everybody else just obeys. We might think of that as being what a king or a queen is like. But as I said, Jesus as king is totally different to all of those ideas. Now, we don't know what Jesus looked like or what clothes he had or where he lived. But we have a pretty good idea that he didn't have much, that he wasn't rich, actually, in his life on earth, that he probably had very simple, ordinary clothes. He probably lived in a very small, ordinary house. Maybe it wasn't even his own house. We know that he travelled about from place to place. Maybe he just stayed with friends. And we know that he didn't have a lot of fine things. We also know, from reading the Bible, that Jesus wasn't a bossy kind of king. He wasn't a king who simply sat around all day giving orders. No, Jesus was a very different kind of king. Jesus was a king who went about meeting people and helping people who were in need. And he went to see sick people and healed them. He went to see poor people and told them that they were special and important. He went to all the people who were ignored and forgotten about and spent time with them and made them feel special. So he wasn't a bossy kind of king giving orders. He was what we call a servant king. He wanted to serve other people, to help other people. And think about it this way. Imagine if you had two friends, and one friend was always telling you what to do, always ordering you about, always being bossy. And the other friend was always trying to help you, always trying to support you, always trying to encourage you. I wonder which friend you would like the most. Probably the second one. And that's the kind of friend Jesus is. And, you know, whether we believe in Jesus or not, we can be that second kind of friend to everybody. We can try and copy Jesus in his life, to be the kind of king he was. To think to ourselves, well, yeah, having posh clothes, having a big house, having lots of fancy things, those aren't the things that really matter in life. What really matters in life is being a good person and being that kind of friend who is always there for others, who's always trying to help people who are in need, who's always trying to do things for other people. That really marks you out as a king or a queen. Not the fact that you can order people about or be bossy. Anyone can do that. But it takes a special kind of person to be that person who's always there, always helping, always wanting to serve, always wanting to encourage others. So as we think about Christmas, we start to think about Christmas, let's also remember this day of Jesus as the King, Christ the King, that he's not the usual type of king. He's a different kind of king, a king who serves, a king who helps, a king who reaches out to people. Let us try and be that kind of king or queen in our own lives and in our own way. Well, diolch yn fawr am wrando. Thank you very much for listening today. And I'm going to pray now before we finish. Lord Jesus, you are our King, but you are a different sort of king from any other king or queen on earth. You are a humble king, a servant king, a king who helps, a king who is the friend of all. Help us to follow your example as we seek to be a king or queen to those around us. Amen. Well, there we are. That's the end of another assembly, and hope you have a really, really good couple of weeks, and I'll look forward to speaking to you again before very long. Bye for now.